Hey, this is Jeff Bond, and welcome to the Chat with Leaders podcast. We're a platform for leaders to share the inspiring things they're doing to lead themselves, their teams, and the communities they serve wisely. This episode is a part of a series where I chat with leaders who are having a profound social impact through technology innovation and service in their community. In today's episode, I'm interviewing Matthew Stevens, a seasoned executive leader and a remarkable human being, currently serving as the CEO of Centegix, an industry leader in crisis and incident management systems. Centegix protects over 1 million people across 13 states and 1,200 schools, hotels, and government buildings. As CEO, Matthew is responsible for company strategy, culture, and reputation. He's also an active member of the Atlanta technology startup ecosystem, serving as an advisor and board member to several startups, including Stellar MMS, and active in the community through high-tech ministries at the Buckhead Church. You'll hear us chat about the social impact his team's technology is having on public safety and K-12 education, as well as other public spaces in hospitality, healthcare, and more. They're quite literally saving lives. We also chat about how his faith and role as a father informs his leadership, how connecting a competitive drive to win in their market is tied to a very clear mission, and ultimately how that helps their team attract and retain top talent. Lastly, we cover the topic of how leaders can use their influence to promote more unity and quell some of the divisiveness in today's world. I hope you really enjoy this episode with Matthew Stevens. Welcome to Chat with Leaders, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for a couple weeks now since we first started talking about it. And as you know, we're all about packaging a short chat with meaningful ideas for our listeners. So I want to get right into our main topics for today of crisis management and public safety, and specifically your leadership in those areas. So before we get into things, can you share just a high-level overview of the problems being solved with your two technology products, Crisis Alert and Contact Alert?
Yeah, absolutely. So Crisis Alert's a wearable panic device. We're a software and Internet of Things company. And our prime use case where we really got started was in education and with the active shooter. So I don't recall exactly when the first school shooting happened in the US, but that's really our foray into the market. We've responded to about 28,000 alerts to date. Only 3 of which have been gun incidences. So we're actually, although we're positioned to solve active shooter, where we really shine is in the day in and day out. So it's a medical emergency, a fight in a classroom, kid choking in the cafeteria, and that's an education. We're also in hospitality. So there's a statistic: 57% of cleaning crew in hotels are physically assaulted during their tenure. And we empower whoever that cleaning person is, who's likely working by themselves in a publicly accessible building, with the ability to call for help with a simple press of a button. So that's in hospitality. And then as well, we're doing some government. And what I'm most excited about recently is our move into healthcare. And in healthcare, there's a lot of behavioral centers, treatment centers, chemical addiction centers that have a small number of clinical staff responsible for a large number of people who are not at the best moment in their life, and it can present a dangerous situation. And again, same thing, empowering with a simple press of a button, the ability to call for help to a specific person at a specific location. And that's our Crisis Alert, our flagship product. And then really in response to COVID-19, we've expanded the capabilities of that Internet of Things platform to engage with what you would call contact tracing. So we then have the ability to take that same technology and produce risk reports that say, this person was within proximity of this person within a sufficient distance for a sufficient amount of time. And that's Contact Alert, a contact tracing product.
You guys are solving a lot of problems. Where would you say the top 2 or 3 use cases are right now where you're seeing the most traction and the most growth?
Yeah, we are solving a lot of problems. Our mission is to innovate technology to save and enrich lives. And unfortunately, there's a lot of ways that we can do that these days. We see the most growth. Education is still really taking off. Nobody can argue against protecting kids. I'm the father of 3. And 2 are in elementary, 1 in middle school. And like about a third of all parents, I worry when I put them on the bus every day for their safety while they're at school. And whether it's bullying or God forbid, a bigger event. It's always in the back of my mind. But so education, we're still seeing a lot happen there. Schools, I think, took a bit of a hiatus. The market with distance learning, needed to sort itself out. We're starting to see, many districts coming back online. Most of our customers are back in school in person, at least part-time. Many of them are full-time. So education's continuing to grow. And then I think healthcare, we're the most green shoots exist in healthcare, because the broader societal problems are spilling their way over into the healthcare system. And frankly, there's a lot of overworked people in healthcare these days, which creates, it exacerbates the problem.
Mm, absolutely. There's so many problems these days. And as you were talking about your role as a father, that really touched me, because I think of the same with just the increasingly violent world that we live in, with active shootings, all the divisiveness politically. I feel like there's this just temperature that's continuing to rise that makes me worried for my children all the time, going to school or just being out in public. So that can keep a lot of parents up late at night. So how has your, I guess, faith in your life and your role as a father further informed your leadership of your organization, or as you think through kind of your purpose and your overall mission?
Yeah, boy, that's a great question, right? Because it gets, like Simon Sinek says, it gets right down to the heart of why.
Mm,
And it's not just me. If I could have the liberty to speak for the whole team here at Centegix, there are more children represented than there are employees. So the average employee has more than one kid, and the life that we save could be one of our own children. We protect 1 in 4 kids in the state of Georgia in public schools, and we have employees that have children that are protected by our system, and friends who are teachers that are protected by our system. And that really is what drives us. We regularly take the pulse of our team, and make sure that we're doing the right things culturally, internally. One of the things that we hear consistently is that the number one reason people come to Centegix, and the number one reason they stay, is our mission. That it's a double bottom line company. We've got shareholders and investors, and we need to be a profitable business, and all the rest of that. That's all super important. It gives us the credibility and the platform to do what we do. But the fact that we have this double mission, with a broader social cause, with a broader that we're on the side of good, clearly, is a big deal for us in recruiting and in retention. And that's one of the things that I'm most proud of. So as a father, it's never lost on me when I come into the office that if I put my absolute best in, I'm protecting somebody else's kids, maybe even my own children. And I think that weaves its way through the organization. You asked the question about my faith, and how does that inform it? For me personally, my faith is it weaves its way into every area of life. And I think that, as it pertains to, the broader cultural climate, I think that it helps me take a position of empathy, the old, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. It as well helps me, build a greater level of understanding, where we can, especially in a really polarized society that we have now, it's easy to stand across the street or across the aisle and lob grenades. It's more difficult, but it's actually, what I believe we're called to in the edict to love your neighbor as yourself is simply, to gain a greater level of understanding for somebody's position. I could love them despite the fact that we might have different worldviews or different viewpoints on how to do something, or the right way to do something. And that I hope that spills out in the way that I lead. I'm probably more keenly aware of my shortcomings than I am of my successes. But that's something that I'm conscious of continually.
It's the humility in you speaking, which I know well. And you had brought up just the technology for good, and I know your team really identifies as a team of technologists that are serving this broader mission. And as you know, in this series, I'm focused on interviewing leaders that are having a profound social impact through technology innovation. And as I think about technology, there is a large opportunity, but there needs to be some social conscious behind what we're building and thinking about the why. And you guys are truly making a remarkable difference. And I guess as you guys are doing these surveys and you're understanding that that has led to your retention, what else are you hearing from your employees in terms of, I think about particularly software engineers, they have lots of great opportunities out there to go and make a lot of money and build things. But as they're telling you this is kind of why they stay, the overall mission, what other kind of context are you hearing around that from them, so that maybe other leaders can learn how to focus on mission and to retain more of their top talent?
Yeah. We have a bit of a mantra here. We're competitive folks, and we want to win also. And but we really believe that how we win matters, and that's how we win here internally and how we win out there in the market. And again, winning for us, we've seen some placebo systems out there that sort of help people check the box, but are ineffective at solving the real problem.
Mm.
And it matters that we win in the market. For that reason, we believe that we bring the best solution to bear. But even internally, when we can agree to disagree. We can fight passionately, not with each other, but against the problem. And I think that's another one of the things that really helps to spill out here, internally, is our ability to get past get past the topic of the day, still knowing we are all lined up to that greater mission, which is innovating technology to save and enrich lives. And listen, if we, if all of a sudden peace was declared and nobody was violent, and kids no longer choked on grapes in the cafeteria or fell off of monkey bars, we would love that. And I would hope that I had the opportunity to take this same team and go and solve a different problem with technology. I believe in them that strongly. I think this is, the best team I've ever worked with, and the most highly skilled, competent folks. And I'm passionate about the people that are here as much as the problem that we're solving. So we wish it was a different flavor, but this is the mission we've been given today.
I'm so glad I probed into that more. And I would encourage anyone listening to rewind back and listen to that again and write down how we win matters. And you brought up being able to passionately debate issues and against solving the problem. And it brings up the point that Patrick Lencioni makes in his book, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. When you have a team that's able to engage in healthy conflict, but has that shared mission and purpose and accountability towards one another and the problems that you're solving, it can easily break that down. And so it's no surprise to me that this is the best team that you've led and been a part of for those reasons, because it creates a healthy culture. And then going back to another leader that you brought up was Simon Sinek of Start With Why. You're bringing up a lot of my idols in the context of this conversation. So thank you for that. So given this polarization, Matt, the divisiveness of our world today, there comes, I think, a responsibility of leaders to be able to unify. And I think, every leader, whether you're in the public spotlight or an everyday ordinary leader of a small team or your family, has an opportunity to use their influence to do that. So what are maybe the top 2 to 3 ways leaders can promote unity within their sphere of influence to maybe get back into this more almost utopian society that you described?
Yeah. Well, gosh, I wish this was an easy one, and I do think that it's exacerbated a bit by the distance that's been put between us these days. There's so much to relationships that really, the pressing of flesh or just simply being together matters. The ability to sit down and have a cup of coffee, and these tools like Zoom and Uber Conference and the rest are great because they allow us to connect over distances. But I think that we were built to be in relationship, and part of being in relationship, I know my relationship with my wife is better when we spend FaceTime together, not FaceTime the system, but time face to face.
Actual FaceTime.
Yeah, actual face. Imagine that, real actual FaceTime. So I had a mentor years ago that pushed me, and he said, every week you have to have a date with your wife. It doesn't matter if it's taking a walk in the park or going to dinner or a concert. You just have to have something every week. And then you always have to have something to look forward to as a couple. some trip or a weekend away or something that you together are saying, hey, a couple of months out, we're going to do this. So, I just want to color the backdrop of that, saying this has become more difficult in the current climate that we're in. So, I would start with listening, right? Seek first to understand rather than to be understood. These are some of the oldest adages in business that we all, read first in our career, Covey and folks like that. It's really important for us to sit down and take heart of active listening exercises. We together as so that would be one. We together as a leadership team read the book Radical Candor. And I forget the author's name, but Radical Candor, a great book in that, reinforcing that same thing, which is, if you believe that I have your best interest at heart, I can be, really radically candid with you about issues that I see, and our relationship is going to simply bridge the fact that I've told you that you made a bad decision, or made a bad call, or played poorly that day, whatever it is. So, relationships really bridge that. And in a time where it's more difficult to stay connected, we've looked for a lot of ways to leverage technology to stay more connected. We've asked people to go get a sub sandwich and go sit in a park together, socially distanced, responsibly, but to spend time together out in the sunlight on a beautiful day. And I think that matters. You can play Frisbee with your team rather than sit around a conference table. We do some virtual happy hours. We've got a little bit later this week, we've got kind of our holiday party online. And we've turned it into a bit of a game. And we're leveraging all of our tools like Slack and Zoom and other things like that in order to accomplish it. And, we've moved our budget to from food and beverage to prizes, and we're trying to just do the best that we can with what we can today, in order to continue to engage people.
I love that. I do concur that we're social creatures, and we're made to be with one another. And I think the book was by Kim Scott. Is that correct? The Radical Candor.
That's right, Kim Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the radical candor phrase. I use it often, and I feel like being honest is one of the most loving, caring things you can do, human to human, as long as you create a safe environment to do that, and it's not combative. It's an opportunity for you to reach real connection and real solutions, quite frankly, as it relates to business. So thank you for bringing up those great points. How would people get a hold of you, learn more about Centegix and your leadership?
Yeah, well, love to be connected with on LinkedIn, Matthew J. Stevens, if you can find me there. Twitter, Vision Casting, and Centegix.com, CENTEGIX.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm blessed to know you, Matt. Such a pleasure and a gift to have you on the show today. Highly encourage people to do that. We will also be posting the show notes, a little bit more about you and Centegix on our website, chatwithleaders.com. So again, thank you so much for your service in the community, the social impact that you're having, and for being with us today, Matt.
Thanks, Jeff. It's my pleasure.